בסדר, בביר על פסוק Sheshes Yamim Tochal Matzos Arishon. In the Siddur, in Dach, on the verse, you should eat matzah for 6 days. Inyan ki ayin ba'ayin yiru, the concept of that you will see eye to eye, b'sofer yizbar inyan vayichi Yaakov. Kuf mem zayin shana, and the end will explain the concept of that Yaakov lived 147 years, neged beis pamim ayin hanal, corresponding with these two eyes. Kuf mem, which is gematria kuf mem, v'zayin hem zayin hamidos, and 7 are the 7 emotional attributes. Hine yeshgemu madregos benivraim. Now there's 3 levels in creations: Basiya, Neshamos, malachim. In the world of Asiya, you have the souls and you have the angels. Sarim, Hamadrega, Rishona. And the first level, Milamata, from below, he Sarim, which are the ministering angels of the nations. Shem Miklipas Noga. They're from the Klipas Noga. Shem Yesh Venifra, that they are in existence and separate. Raktikarule Elakad Elakaya. Only that they call Hashem the God of gods. And look in the Mamar how Yaakov fought with the ministering angel of Esav. Shenimshach the Malchus the Asiya, that it's drawn down to Malchus of Asiya. She is Sofa Kedusha, which is the end of holiness. B'nichlalas b'bechinas bittul. It's included in the concept of nullification. Umisham Yipared, that from that level of holiness that's included it's still in holiness in Asiya, and from there it divides Liyos Alma de Bruda to be a concept of separation. That's where in the process of creation begins the true division for an existence to find itself and as an existence, where it feels that it wants to call itself an existence separate from Hashem, to call Hashem the God of gods, that they would think themselves also something. And in the Tanya, Kadisha, it says, that something that's not nullified to Kedusha Yisbarach, that to Hashem's holiness, final fiki klipas noga, umasach hamastir, is this curtain that hides al Ohr Hatorah Vayikra on the holy light. Shenimshach m'bechinas tzadik yisod, that's drawn from the level of tzadik, or tzadik elyon. Begimel almost bia. So the Klipas Noga hides the concept of the tzaddik, just like the orla or on the mila. Therefore, because of this Klipas Noga, so these ministers, they're in state of existence and separate and so forth. Find Sham Daf Kuf Nun Ches Hamadalad. And look in the Siddur, Ad Gabe Al Derech Vegabe, similar to the idea of Gabe, whatever that is. Concerning that this was the mistake of the first generations, that this is like they called him the God of gods and so forth. the concept of the Klibas Noga as well. And look what in the Mamar that explains the idea of how your name will not be called Avram anymore. Daf Kuf Samech Aleph. Al derech gabe ve'al zeh halvu shagas ne'amar al bishamayim kadrus v'sak chulu. Similar to the what it's brought there on that on this garment, this coarse garment, it says, I will clothe the heavens in dark cloth and sackcloth and so forth. And look in Torah Ohr Lech Lecha. ובלקוטי תורה בשיר השירים מדיבור המסחיל יונסי ונזכר מעניין על בשמיים קדרוס חולו. And in the Likutei Torah, in the Shir Hashirim, the Maamar of my dove, it's brought the concept of a minyan al b'shamayim kadrus chulu, of how I will enclothe the heavens in darkness. And this is the idea of when he says that when we had the bris milah in the desert. So it says, today I revealed, it took off the embarrassment of Mitzrayim, ki cherpa hilanu, because it's an embarrassment to us, like they said by Dina, with the orla, that because they had an orla, it was a cherpa. So therefore, when they still had the orla, before they had when they didn't have the korban pesach, so it was considered an embarrassment. So, and look what it's brought on the verse, and when your son asks you and so forth, that we were slaves to Paro in Egypt and so forth. And this is what it means that we ate in Mitzrayim freely below mitzvahs without the mitzvahs. Because the infinite light was far away from them. They didn't have the bris milah, like we'll explain later. So if most of and the infinite light was hidden in them in the complete level, in the complete way of being hidden completely. And far away from them, so if and look in Torah Or, and the end of where it's talking about the whole nation, how they stood away from far away. Why by Matan Torah they stood from far away? That the idea of is that the life force that's enclosed inside of them is in a way of exile in something that's separate. So they so to speak, that's the concept of they stood from far away, even though at that point they had already had the bris milah, and they were ready to receive the Torah. This represents the idea of enlivening something that's separate, which is similar to this idea of the Sarim and so forth. The Iker, the Kabbalah, and the main life force that they receive is from the Maki, from the encompassing light that surrounds them. Like it's brought in the Maamar, see the smell of my son and so forth by the bracha of Yitzchak Yaakov. You have a concept of reach, which is also a makif. And this is the concept of the hanging ayin that's in the Tehillim in the middle. It says Chazir Miyar, and the the davar acher, which Esav represents, the chazir in the forest. So the word forest with the ayin that's hanging. Why does it hang? That is to say that these ministering angels or Esav receive their life force from far away. In a makif way. That's why it's hanging. In the Mamar about all your sons, that is because they're separate, so they don't have a they don't get this inner flow. Rather, they get it from Rachok. And look what it says about this in Zohar Kadosh and Vayetze concerning the idea of that the sheep that are covered are to love on. And look what it's brought about this idea. And a woman, when she makes a neder, Matzos. And the second level, malachim. So that's the concept of the Sarim. The second is the malachim. That's the sheyesh bem a bittul, that they have more of a nullification. Like it says that the hosts of heaven are bowing down to you, that they have a bittul and they do bow down to Hashem and recognize Hashem. And similarly, you have this idea of the Chasidim of the nations, and look about this concept of the angels of the world of Asiyah, that they're called Bnei Elim. Elim is a language of strength. And it's also an idea of who is like you amongst the silent. Similar to the idea of a sheep in front of her shearers is silent, meaning to say that they're from this level. That's where Unica starts to come from. So not the nifrod like the Sarim, but some kind of Unica also comes from here. And the Chazal Redosh on this pasuk that who is like you, who is silent when by the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. The Likutei Torah Pashas Pinchas B'Dibur HaMaschil Reishis Tfuaso Dafayin Tesamud Gimel. Look in Likutei Torah concerning the idea of the beginning of the produce. V'gam Sandal U'Bekeser D'Asiyah. Also, the Malach Sandal is in the crown of the world of Asiyah. So you have this idea of the Ksarim, is that the different malachim correspond with different hashpah, and Sandal is an idea of going upwards towards Keser, like Kosher Ksarim Lakono and so forth. And look what's brought in the Maamar about the heavens should hear. The Rosh Hashlishi al pasuk v'hini ofan echad ba'arz. Targum Yonasan milara. So that it says that there was one malach and ofan on the earth, and the Yonasan translates, what does it mean? Ba'aretz means milara, inside, or outside, on the other side. Maybe it means bechitzonius. So because you have milara, milail, milara means on the outside. Milail means it means before and after. So milara means in the after. So uchvan achad ba'aretz means milara in the after, is as opposed to the before. And what's brought on Prasiv Yisativ Avasisiv, that I even created it, I even made it, meaning I even have a siyah. That it says afasisiv, that it says I've even made it, that it says that there's a separation between Yitzartiv and Asisiv, where all there isn't this separation of the word af between Barasiv and Yitzartiv. That the world of Asiyah in comparison to Yitzira is further away from Yitzira in comparison to Bria, B'dibura Maskul Mimana, that's brought in one who counts of Balak. Begam B'Asiyah Nikra Eved Kanani, and also the concept of the world of Asiyah is called a non-Jewish, a slave, a Canaanite slave. Yitzira Eved Ivri, and in the world of Yitzira, so you have the idea of a Jewish slave. So you have this idea of these malachim that are called servants or slaves, that in the world of Asiyah they are a lower level of servant or slave, and in the world of Yitzira it's a higher level. Madreg Hagimel, and the third level Olam HaNeshamos, that's the world of the Neshamos. Hema b'mibichinas atzmius elukus, that they're from the essence of the godliness. Ki olu b'machshava, that they came up into the divine thought. Mashein kin malachim, which is not the case with the angels. Nimshechu mehadibur, they came from speech as opposed to thought. B'mi nimlach, who did Hashem consult when creating? And look about this idea and the Mamar, how Zachar and Shamor, to remember and guard, or were said in one speech. B'Torah Ohr, Parshas Yisro, Daf Kuf Yirches Amud Aleph, Amud Beis, V'Daf Kuf Kaf Amud Beis, B'Dibar Maskul Menozav, Kula B'Perek Beis. And look at the Mamar of Menozav, and so forth. Therefore, all to the Neshamos was given the Torah, and not to the angels. Even though the angels also have this idea that they draw down divine flow through saying holy and blessed and so forth. Kadosh Baruch, in the Kedusha, they're not able to draw down the same way the Neshamos are. Ein Sham b'Torah Ohr, Lav Kuf Kaf Amadalid. Look in Torah Ohr that the way the Neshamos draw this down is much higher. And look in the Biurei Zohar, in Bereshis, it talks about how I'll make a help for man and so forth. Parshas Balak, and in Parshas Balak, where it talks about how Hashem's angels should bless him and so forth. In another place it explains that the angels are drawn down from the external concept of the vessels, and the souls are come from the inner concept of the vessels. And the Mamar about how I'll place your windows as precious stones. Now the inner concept is much higher. The inner concept of the vessels is higher than the external concept, like it's brought in the Siddur. Where it talks about the Yamim Tovim in the beginning, Zohar, Emor, where it brings from Zohar Emor, Dav Tzadik Dalet Amud Aleph, Gabe Achini Shefesh Biza Bein Bechinas Pnimius Dizal Bechinas Chesonius Dizachul, where it talks about the difference between the inner concept of Zerampin to the external concept of Zerampin. Ein Sham Shu Kemo HaHefresh Ben Shabbos Limea Maisa. Look over there, like that. It's the difference between Shabbos and the weekday, V'gam Hadib or Legabi HaMachshav, and also speech in comparison to thought. K'morech Alma Diskalya Legabi Alma Diskasya. So too, it's like the difference between the revealed world and the hidden world. V'ayim b'siddur Shara Chanukah, and look in the siddur about Chanukah, B'dibur Maskil Mizmor Shir Chanukah, Stav Kuf Kaf Vav, so from Mud Beis, Shilachin Davka, B'Neshamos Yochel Yosa Bittul Belakus. So that's why specifically in Neshamos you have this nullification to godliness more than the malachim, Al Derech Yiskalelus Haner Bavuka, that it's similar to the idea of the candle that goes into the flame, Mash'enkim, but malachim, that the malachim don't have this idea. Don't have this extra bittul because they come from Chitzonius Akelim instead of the Pnimius. V'sham Amud Aleph Shezeh Inyan Ishtachava Bittul B'Pnimius. And look over there also that this is the concept of bowing down, which is nullification. An inner nullification. You'd have to look over there because it does say Ein Sham Daf Kuf Kav Zayin Amud Daf Kuf Kav Hey Amud Gimel V'hu Gam Ken B'Lukutei Torah Pashas Abracha Daf Tzadik Chesuf Amud Beis Vav Amud Gimel Vayin B'Torah Or Pashas Bereshis Al Pasuk Vayitzer Daf Zayin Amud Dalet. And look over there in those places. If Shalom Al Derech Hamavor B'Dibur Amaskil V'Avekish, we can say like it's run the Mamar of how Yaakov fought with him Malach She'ikar Habitul B'Chabad, that the main concept of nullification is in the spheres of Chachma Bina Das, Misham Nimshach Mashach Nimshach B'Chagas, and it's drawn into Chesed V'Ur Tiferes. But it's not the same level of nullification like Chachma Bina Das, like the idea of how we are, what are we, of Moshe Gavor Mibichnis Hava, is higher than the concept of love. The bittul is higher than the love. So the meaning to say, just like he said about the Chabad is higher, the bittul in Chabad is higher than the bittul in Chagas, that the emotional bittul is not as great as the intellectual bittul. So the concept of of Chachma, of Moshe, is a higher bittul than the bittul of love. Like it's brought in the Maamre about the Birchas Hamazon concerning the idea of how Hashem let us eat the man, how your fathers didn't know this, meaning the fathers of Chagas didn't know it, because the man comes from the Mochin, which are higher than the Midos, therefore it has a stronger bittul. Ein b'siddur b'divrei maschil Tanur Rabbanan Minayin La Birchas Hamazon Daf Kuf Kafei Amud Aleph Amud Beis, and look in the siddur where it talks about how do we know Birchas Hamazon B'Lukutei Torah Pashas Eikev B'divrei maschil Ulahavin Shoresh Perek Beis Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph Vayim B'divrei maschil Im B'chukosai Hashini Perek Aleph Daf Mem Zayin Amud Gimel, and look in those minor makomos. On Derech Zeh Neshamos Shoshan Mechabad V'Malachim Mechagas. Similarly, the Neshamos, their sources in it from Chachma Bina Das, and the malachim are from Chesed Gvor Tiferes. Chesed Gvor Tiferes Mekanan B'Yitzira, because the emotional spheros, they nest. Their place is in the world of Yitzira. The emotional attributes correspond with the world of Yitzira, V'Sham malachim, and that's where the malachim are in general. Stam malachim, V'Chabad B'Bria, and Chachma Bina Das in general corresponds with the world of Bria, Sham and Neshamos. That's where the Neshamos correspond with in general. The Vayim in Neshamos and Malachim, the Bora Maskul Shab Sosai, and look what's brought about Neshamos and Malachim in the Maamre of my Shabbos is Tishmiru, that you should guard them. Look in those places, Sham Malachim Alu Asagasam Arbechinas Malchus, that the malachim, they can understand until the level of malchus, that they praise your righteousness and so forth. But the Neshamos, they get not from malchus but from Yisod, from the concept of tov, of goodness. Say about tzaddik and how it is good. And look about the malachim in Parshas Tisa. They call and all of this is still nefesh ruach neshama of the world of Asiyah. I know biad Asiyah of B'yitzir Asiyah of Asiyah. So all the Sarim, malachim and Neshamos, all these levels we're talking about are there as they are in the world of Asiyah. But in a more general concept, we can divide it into how the Neshamos are in Bria, and the malachim and Yitzir, and the Sarim in the world of Asiyah. Even though we were talking about Bia of Asiyah. And look in the Mamar of how good concerning the concept of the three levels of the neshama, nefesh ruach neshama shal zinemar, that on this it says, Kadesh li b'chol b'chor, sanctify for me all firstborn, and b'dibur maskil shenaich ke'eder minyan gimel adarim. And in the Mamar about Shir Shirim, of how your teeth are like a flock, concerning the three flocks, Shishalach Yaakov, that Yaakov sent to Esav. And in these three levels, Klippus Noga is called Asiyah of Asiyah, the level of the Sarim and so forth, Al Derech Afasisiv, similar to the idea of how I even made it, that the world of Asiyah has a certain separation to it. Shlosha Paschu Ba'af, and how three opened with this word Af, even and so forth. Ein B'dibur Maskil Shishim Hema, Rishon Benyan Mifal Gechalil Satachulu, look in the Mamar and Shir Shirim, how there's 60 queens concerning the division between above and below. I know that there's this parsa, there's this curtain, so to speak, in the middle of the body, or something like that. And this is that I even made it. And this is the division. This is like it says that I even made it, that there's a division that the world of Asiyah has from Yitzira. And this is what it means, that it'll be like a healing to your belly button, or to the lower half, the Lasham Sarich Refuah, that there you need a refuah, because that's where the division is between the upper limbs of the chest and the lower intestines and stomach of the and so forth. That it's below this diagonal division within the stomach and chest. The Malchus, and look in Sifri, where it, look how it in the Maamri, where it talks about how it's brought in Sifri, that from the external vessels of Malchus, the Asiyah, Nimshach Nefesh HaSichli Sanushis Chulu, that's where the intellectual soul of man comes from. Be'emes HaKelim Nechlakim L'Gimel Bechinos Rosh Toch Sof. So we're talking about again Chitzonis HaKelim and Pnimis HaKelim, that you have so the truth is that the vessels are divided into three ideas: the head, the end in the middle, the head, the middle, and the end. Simanecha tasesirli, and the simon for this is that you are a place that I can hide and get covered in protection. But the word seser implies this idea in the Rashi Tevos of the end, the middle, and the beginning. B'Torah or b'dibura maskil chachli le'inayim, b'dibura maskil b'yoro pasuk Moshe yidaber. Ubesider shara kriya shema b'dibura maskil havina hefesh min kriya shema letfila b'tchila so'ain sham. And look in those Marim Gomos. That there's a difference between davening and Shema and so forth, with where it brings this idea. Ketzer Hagos, from the Hagos Nifrad, you had this idea of division. The Klipas Nogas ben Kodesh Lechol. The Klipas Nogas, this division between the holiness and the mundane. Now, Al Bishamayim Kadrus V'Sak Chulu. I will clothe the heavens in darkness and sackcloth and so forth. And this is also the idea of the division of how I will divide between the upper and the lower parts of the body. And this is the concept of the this is the idea of the hanging ayin of Yichar Samena Chazir Miyar in Tehillim, that you have this makif over the Chazir, meaning over the ministering angel of Edom, or of all the, or you have this idea. This applies to all the other nations as well, that they have a light force that's given to them only in a way of encompassing light. Makif. China below mitzvos, how you have that we ate mitzrayim chinam, with that meaning without mitzvos. Malachim dasiya b'nei elim, that the malachim are called the sons of strength, karachal chulu ne'elama, but also in a way of this is an idea also of like a sheep in front of its shears is silent. There's a certain bittul to the malachim. Neshamos b'mimachshava, but Neshamos, they come from thought, al derech iu v'garo moichad, similar to the idea of him and his vessels are one, meaning they come from the pnimius hakelim gavoa me'achitzonius, which is higher than the external level of the vessels, v'yuchlu lisbatel kaner b'fnei avuka, and they can become nullified like a candle in front of the flame, in front of the torch. Kamal derech v'nachnu ma, similar to the idea of what are we, meaning they come from ma, zeu l'mayla b'chinas ava, which is higher than the concept of love. So the bittul of ma, of chachma, is higher than the bittul of ava towards Hashem, that the bittul of mochin are higher than the bittul of midos. Zeu iloi chabad al chagas, that this is the greatness of chachma bina das over chesed gvura tiferes malachim v'zidkas chiranenu. Malachim, they praise malchus, aval neshamos lo yachzru chol tov, but the neshamos are not missing all good, meaning they also have the concept of yisod, meaning they have a more pnimi samshacha. Gimel b'chinas naran, gimel b'chinas b'akli, and this that you have three levels, nefesh ruach neshama, or three levels in the vessel, in the pnimis of the kelim. V'gimel almost b'yei yitzir nesiya, and you have these three worlds of being yitzir nesiya. Beis chafresh, v'asiya de asiya. And you have the Siya Vasiya, Zeu Afasisi, Vine Alide Hapesach, Parsa, Klipas Noga Kanal, that the world of Asiya comes through this Hapesach of Afasisi, through the curtain, and like the curtain between the above and below that he mentioned by the Sarim.